The Super Dane is in the beam!
Portal 2. It's considered by many to be one of the greatest games of all time. And there's no question about it. It did just as good, if not better, than its predecessor. It has become an icon of pop culture. If you haven't played it, then you've probably at least heard of it. Portal 2 was the game that introduced me to Steam all the way back in 2012. I mean, it was more like confusedly forcing me into having to set up an account to play this game than formally introducing me to it. But nevertheless, look where I am now. 860 hours on TF2 and 100 games I've never played, thanks Humble Bundle. With all that aside, we're going to be talking about Portal 2 on this episode of Past the Puzzles. Alright, so I just got my first non-Nintendo console. It's sad. My reasoning was that games are getting bigger and requiring beefier computers, and that I need to do something to keep up. And the Wii U ain't helping much. Seriously? I just buy this thing, and they're already killing it off? What the heck? Anyway, the first games that I got for my Xbox One S were Shadow of Mordor, Red Dead Redemption. This thing's like thick. What's in here? Oh, cool. You get like a little map. Get a little map in here. I could put the posters on the wall. And of course, Portal 2. Platinum hits. Bestseller. Platinum hits. Awarded bestseller. 1999. The first two because I heard good things about them, and Portal 2 because I wasn't satisfied with my playthrough of Portal 2 on my underpowered, now dead MacBook Pro. Which, by the way, can I just say that the screws start popping off the bottom of that thing, and I take it apart, and the battery looks like it's about ready to explode. Don't forget ISIS. We got our own little terrorists making little bombs up in California, if you catch my drift. I wasn't satisfied playing a glitch-riddled lagfest version of what's apparently one of the greatest games of all time. So I beat the game on Xbox One S, which, let me tell ya, only took me about 2 sittings. Impressive, I know. I had a much better experience playing it on console than on PC. Now, I definitely had a difficult time getting used to first-person controls on a gamepad because I was so used to mouse and keyboard controls. Hey, call me a PC man if you want. I ain't gonna give you nothing for it. I got a Windows 10 and called it a day. Also, the graphics look a heck of a lot better on the telly than on the smelly. Jeez, man, talk about the game already. Gosh. Portal. You shoot portals. Check, please.
Check, please.
Hey guys, we're talking Wrinkle in Time rules. You got 2 points, and you connect them together, because it's too long to walk on your spindly little legs, you dingus. For some people, it's really difficult to grasp the concept of portals. And I faintly remember having a difficult time wrapping my brain around going through a portal that's on a sloped surface. But I was like 2 or whatever, okay? Alright, maybe 3. Okay, maybe 9. Each level is called a test chamber, okay? And each chessboard and each test chamber requires you to use your portals in different ways in order to open and reach the exit without leaving an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record. You got buttons that need cubes, lasers that need pointing in the right direction and whatnot. You also got bouncy gel, speedy gel, white gel. I mean, that's already a lot of mechanics. And combine that with your portal shooting abilities, that's like 3 times 3. Oh yeah, you also got death pits, death water, death, you got broken glass, might cut your fingy. I might have to kiss your boo-boo, for a kiss for good health. The story's cool. The story's cool because it's integrated with the puzzle solving very well. Well, most of the time. You see, I'm running because he's telling me to run, the music's telling me to run, She's telling me not to run, but I think that's bad. Oh, loading. I guess it's not uncommon for Source games to have abrupt loading sequences in the middle of intense action. Like Half-Life did that every 4 flippin' seconds. But there's longer levels in this one, so why'd you have to split it up into 2 different levels? I don't know, I don't care. Next! There's too much non-Portal stuff. And by that I mean, after solving some fun puzzles, it feels kind of boring to be suddenly doing parkour in the door room from Monsters, Inc. And sometimes the game has important story stuff that it has to tell you, but it feels like it has to tell you it through this buffoon, Wheatley, whilst walking down a corridor. And by the way, real talk for a second, I really did walk off that ledge my first time around. I may have recreated it for the purpose of this video, but I swear on my life that I just kept on walking and I fell right off like it was nobody's gosh darn business. Speaking of death, okay, I get it. You get it, we all get it. We all are peppers. Alright, so this game has this quick save thing, which is really cool. You can like save your game in the middle of anything and then return right where you left off. It's really neat. I don't know how they do that. It's really technologically impressive. I really wish that I knew. You're holding back on me, Valve. I'm gonna have to... Most Source games have this, and it autosaves for you too. But a transition or something could have been nice instead of just going to black and starting the day over again like Tom Cruise living on the edge of tomorrow. It's really freaky, and frankly, I don't like it. Just put "you died" on the screen and press X to continue. Just do that, and then every other game does that. Alright, so the ending of Portal 2. I didn't really have a problem with it. It was pretty controversial, but I was fine, other than the part where when you shoot a portal at the... Spoiler alert beyond this point. There's this thing in Valve games called the silent protagonist. It's where the protagonist doesn't say a word other than maybe occasionally grunt when you get hurt. And you don't see them in cutscenes either. Unless maybe you see their little hands holding their weapons right in front of their face like this. But other than that, you don't really see or hear the protagonist whatsoever. It's a really good gimmick. It's a really good trick that puts you in the long fall boots of the protagonist. Portal 2 is fine for the most part, but there's this part at the ending where you touch a button and it explodes, and all of a sudden, oh, you see Shell's hands flaying around, and she gets up and then stares at the moon, basically saying, hey, shoot for the moon. I'm being literal. She looks up at the moon for a second, and then gives you back control for one click, and then thus begins the only cutscene in the game, one could argue. For the whole game, I felt like I was the one solving puzzles. I thought I was the smart one. I thought I was the mad scientist. But now the game explicitly spells out the solution to the final puzzle. If Kojima made this game, he would have made it so that you'd have to like go outside, grab an actual gun, and actually shoot the moon. And he wouldn't tell you all that. He would have made you figure it out all for yourself. I feel like the ending of Portal 2 needs a little bit of Kojima. Kojima's Portal 2. Make it happen. After completing the relatively short game, I wasn't quite sure what to do, because there really isn't much else to do in Portal 2. The PC version solved that by adding the support for Steam Workshop and community-made test chambers, which added infinite replayability in the console version, in my opinion. I mean, you got the whole co-op thing, but I got this game wanting to sit down and play some good old-fashioned Sudoku. By myself. Solitaire, I mean. I don't see why they could have made multiple single-player campaigns. The Stanley Parable, I think, is the best example of replayability in the game. Heck, we're still finding stuff today that we didn't even know about before. And that game came out like, what, 5 years ago? One thing the Stanley Parable does is that once you've played the game a few times, the starting area will start to change a bit. It might just be something as small as a phone ringing, or it might just, the geometry of the place will just completely be different. If Portal 2 took some of their test chambers and maybe changed them up a bit on different playthroughs, maybe it would be worth replaying. Everything has context, and Portal 2's context was the orange box. The fact that Portal 2, a small game, was bundled with so many other great games, including TF2, which you can't, that's online multiplayer, that's as much replayability as you can get. Factor in human error. And that very well might be the reason why Portal 2 is a little bit short. If you're looking for a longer Portal experience, Portal Stories Mel, take a look at that. I haven't actually played it for myself, but I've seen a playthrough of it and it looks pretty neat. Portal 2 was a fantastic game and a fantastic experience for me, and that's why I give it a play it. It may have some replayability issues, but sometimes you just gotta be thankful for what you already have. John 3:17. Well, I'm gonna go play Middle Earth Terry Pratchett's Revenge. Goodbye!